Welcome everyone to our team management profile road trip today. My name is Sarah Ekbal and I will be walking you through the main attraction. There are 3 questions which we're going to answer in this webinar. The first one is, what is the team management profile? Second is, how does it help? And why choose us? And thanks to a reminder from Simon Sinek, we're going to start with the why. Before we get into that, I want you to think of your best ever road trip. Where did you go? What did you do? Mine was 2003, New Zealand, South Island, driving around for 8 days. Serene, social, full of nature. Unforgettable. And while you're thinking about your own road trip, this is just to stop and remember that learning is a journey and everyone's journey is a little bit different. And that's one of the things that the TMP takes into account. So let's see how it does that exactly. Let's take in some of the sites. So up first is our why. Now, there are many reasons why to choose the team management profile, but here are some of our main ones. It all started 30 years ago, a couple of kilometres from where I'm sitting in our head office in Brisbane, down at the University of Queensland. So we have been operating for a long time. So it's very much Australian made and owned. That being said, it's local, but it's also global. It's been used in over 190 countries, been translated into over 20 languages, and 2 million people worldwide have completed the profile. In fact, every 30 minutes, someone around the world completes the questionnaire. It's local, global, but it also has a laser focus on the world of work. It all started with phenomenological research into group processes. Dick McCann and Charles Majerison investigated what teams did rather than personality theory or psychology, because that came later. First and foremost, it was all about the world of work. The team management profile is also universally practical and relevant. So it doesn't matter what colour your socks are, it will help you and your teams. Our new research manual, in fact, that's coming out in 2018, includes over 500,000 respondents in the data. We have hundreds of norm groups looking at different professions, industries, types of managers and cultures, to name a few. Now, when we have a look at the team management profile, it covers the best of both worlds. It looks at the world of work, but it also understands that people like to work in different ways. And by combining the work and people, we can have a look at people at work through various team roles we prefer to play. So on the left, you can see our types of work wheel. That was the first answer into the question of what makes teams successful. Well, successful teams cover off on 9 critical success factors. We have advising, looking at gathering information, innovating, coming up with ideas, promoting, educating and selling those ideas to others, developing the idea, checking if it's feasible, is it ready to go, organising it, having a plan, then producing it, implementing it. But of course, we have to inspect the details and also maintain it into the future. So high-performing teams, what Majerus and McCann found, cover off on these 8 types of work. But they also do it in a linking way. They coordinate and integrate these tasks together so the ideas we come up with get produced. Now, that was the first answer to the question of what makes teams successful. But Majerus and McCann then also realised and observed that they need to understand people, what motivates us. So they developed the 4 work preference measures we also call the RIDO scales. We call them RIDO because we're looking at the acronym of R for relationships, then I for information, D for decisions, and O for organisation. These 4 scales, are all 4 work preference measures, look at how we like to operate. When we're relating to others, some of us prefer to be a bit more extroverted, talk things through. Others prefer to be a bit more introverted and think things through. When we use information, you might be a bit more practical and pragmatic, like to talk in concrete terms, or a bit more creative and conceptual. When making decisions at work, you might be a bit analytical or a bit more belief-based. And when organising yourself and others, you might prefer to be a bit more structured or flexible. The great thing about these scales is that they're not black or white. There's no good or bad, right or wrong for your role. You can sit anywhere along these scales. You can sit right in the middle or at the outer edges, showing that you have clear preferences. And the best thing is to always remember that even if whatever preference that you come out with, we all do both sides of the scale. So we have two models. We have a model of work and we have a model of people. And these combined, as I mentioned, to give you this final model, the team management profile, which highlights the 8 roles we like to play. In a moment, when we have a look at your profile, we'll see that every person gets 3 pieces of this pie. Interestingly enough, no one actually gets the role of the linker as a preference because it's a requirement. Everyone is responsible to link with each other. There's actually a set of skills we need to be developing. And the team management profile looks at that too. So that's the big why. Many reasons, many valuable insights into why our clients have been using us over the decades and why Team Management Systems, our company, has been growing so strong. But the second question is, how does this help? Now, recently, we had 2 of our lovely clients from PwC come and do a roadshow of events, telling the audience about how they've used the team management profile successfully. When they started their journey a few years ago, they had some very clear objectives. They wanted to ensure transparency, trust, and confidence, and also collaboration continues to grow across their team. But they wanted to make sure they had a solid baseline of trust and really start to practice that open dialogue. One of my favorite things in the objectives here is looking at how they wanted to make the profile a part of their culture. And that's when we have a look at that sustainability, or what we call in our types work wheel, the maintaining piece, keeping it on the agenda. And now, because we don't just have a profile, we have a whole TMP hub that works around it, we make this even easier for you to achieve. And that's just one application. But there are many ways of using the team management profile. In actual fact, I ran an accreditation the other day, and a few people were talking about how they're looking at using it in their graduate programs. And similar for onboarding reasons as well. We do it every single time we get a new person starting here in our office. We get them to do the questionnaire. We do a one-on-one debrief with them. And then we give them a little piece of cardboard with their name on it. And we take them into our kitchen where we have our big team management wheel with everyone's names around it. And we get them to place their name on the poster to highlight and to symbolize now they've joined the team. They're a part of the team. And then everyone in the office can come and have a look. And, it's a nice a time to think about how you fit into the whole organization, but you can also see how you fit into your subgroups as well. So again, we'll have a look a little bit later at the importance of looking at how you aggregate the data, and so you can start to look at team compositions, not just your individual development. So many ways of using the profile. And if you did want some case studies, you can always head over to our website, tmsoz.com, and we have plenty on there. So the big question is, what actually is the team management profile? What does it look like? What's inside it? Now, that's one question, what is a TMP? But the other thing we wanted to talk about was, what is a TMP Hub? Because when this first started, it was just a 5,000-word report, an invaluable piece of information where people would learn about their strengths and areas for improvement and so on. But now we actually have a whole system which works around the team management profile, which is what I'll show you today. So just looking at the Team Management Profile Hub, it all starts with the 60-item questionnaire. So to get your hub, you still need to complete the questionnaire. And once you do that, you instantly can access your Team Management Profile 5,000-word report. But it's not just about reading the report. You can also go into our online activity center and find 19 different applications that you can access for up to 3 years. So as a facilitator, when you become accredited, we show you how to use these apps and how to build your own bundle. You could have a full suite, the full library of 19 apps, but what we actually find and we recommend is that learners benefit when you have a simple, targeted program of applications that you can help them work through, both before a facilitated session, but also after a facilitated session. The other great thing with a Team Management Profile Hub is, after you've done the professional debrief, or the accredited facilitator has done this, leaders can come in and they can be empowered to keep this going themselves. With the right resources and instructions, they can start using the applications in the hub in meetings, to help review projects, or when working one-on-one with key clients, thinking about what advice do I need on how I can best communicate with them. So these apps in the Online Activity Center help you do all those things and make it really simple to keep it going. So the main attraction, the actual team management profile itself. Here's Dick McCann reading his. Let's take a little sneak peek inside and have a look at some of the content. So here we have the first page. This is actually one of the profiles I did quite a few years ago. And on the first page, you see your 3 roles. You have 1 major role and 2 related roles. And this is followed on throughout the other pages. You have a little brief rundown of the theory and some reminders as to the colours of your 3 roles. So we don't just place you in one part of the wheel, we highlight that you have a range of preferences and can work in many different areas. Here are a couple more pages, very data-centric. You can see after you've done the 60-item questionnaire, here are your results plotted out. You can see the full range of responses from your questionnaire, but you can also see your net score there. And on the other page, we have the work preference distribution. This is where we start to distribute your preferences around the types of work wheel. Because it's one thing to think about how we like to relate to others, but it's another thing to start to think about what work activities do I enjoy and what work activities might be causing me a little bit of stress and what can I do about that. Now, also, when you look at your team management profile, there are lots of different sections in there from decision making, leadership, team building, and so on. And when you start to read through your profile, you can see that the language is very positive, very constructive, and simply highlights areas where you can improve and further strengthen. Here are some excerpts from my profile, starting to look at the idea of preferences. I prefer a fair degree of complexity, and I enjoy getting a total picture. But then it looks at the other side. I enjoy that rather than dealing with problems in a logical sequential order. And then looking at how those preferences translate into areas for self-improvement. So this idea, my preference, I'm very much an assessor developer. I'm tempted to start other projects, that initial energy at the start, scoping them out, organizing them, but then getting to that point where you see another project starting. So that's an area for self-assessment, but also looking at other ones as well. So as you can see, they're simple, they're practical, and they give me some immediate things that I can work on. So once you look at yourself as an individual, as I said, it's really also important to look at your team composition. During accreditation, this is one of the activities we do. We get everyone to plot their name on the wheel. So here we've just looked at major roles, but you can take that a step further by having a look at those other 2 related roles that each person has. And you can start to think about your coverage around the wheel. And what does that mean for the type of work we need to do? What does that mean for our jobs? What does that mean for the projects we're working on? For example, here you see a lot of coverage in these areas in the Northeast. But what might that mean for the areas that we don't have? What happens if no one prefers to play the role of upholder, maintainer, or reporter advisor? Those types of work of maintaining and advising are really critical. So how might that be influencing our performance? And then these are kinds of conversations you can have with your team. To help you start to talk of actions and recommendations for change and further strengthening performance, the team management profile also comes with a personal discovery workbook. So this is all part and parcel in your one investment into the profile. You get the actual profile itself, you get the team management profile hub with all the applications in the Online Activity Center, and you get the personal discovery workbook. So here it outlines the theory. It also gives space to write down your reflections and actions, and it has some really good tips for linking and communicating with different people. So we've had a look at the profile. Now let's have a quick look at the hub. And what I'd really like to do is to take you on a live tour of this. So what I'm going to do right now is change our screen and open up our TMS Oz page. So about now, you should be able to see TMS Oz. This is our home page, and I like this page. I always recommend it to for accredited facilitators to bookmark this page because it has the main areas you need to go. Today, we're going to look at accessing the respondent site, which is the Team Management Profile Hub. All right, so I'm just going to show you how to log in to the sample site. So you need an activation code and email. Once we log in, the second step verification is just your own personal password. All right, so we're into the sample site. If you wanted to have a play around with our sample site yourself, just contact us and we can email you the login details. All right, so as you can see, right at the top, it has your name, but it also has a reminder of when it expires. So everyone gets 3 years access to this. First step is to click here. Once your learners receive an email, you click here and you will be presented with 60 items. You complete them and then you can download a copy of your raw data. But what you actually want to do is see your profile. And this is where people gravitate towards the most, as you can imagine, is your Yellow folder. Click on your colored avatar, and that is, the color is significant because it matches your major role. So here, this sample is the assessor developer. You click on there, you can download the PDF, some other file formats of the profile. Also, you can get a one-page summary and also your workbook. So for example, if you can click the one-page summary, it just downloads as a PDF, and then we can open up there and just see the highlights from the profile, our raw scores and net scores, and so on. Coming back to our Team Management Profile Hub, there's some other icons in this feedback section, and I'll show you in a moment where these icons come from, because these are actually saved reports from the Online Activities Center, the apps in there. So we've looked at completing the questionnaire, and once it's done, you can read your profile. But as I said, you can also access the Online Activities Center if the facilitator has granted you access. Here is where you see those 19 different applications. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we really find that it's best to build your own bundle of apps. So that might be 3 to 5 apps for your learners to see as a starting point. But then later down the track, you can add more. So you can actually drip feed these. Every 3 months, you might want to add a new app and encourage people to come in and complete it to keep the learning alive. Some of our favorites are the pacing application, looking at communicating with other people. So let's say I wanted to improve my communication with Thomas. And I might think, where does Thomas sit on the 4 Rido scales in relation to me? So I estimate Thomas is a bit more extroverted than I am, a bit more practical, belief-based, and let's go structured. And as soon as I complete that task, I have a nice, neat 1 page of information as a starting point for ways I could better communicate with Thomas. Some really nice, simple tips. So for example, appreciating that, like myself, Thomas enjoys talking through his ideas. So give him time to do this. Okay, give Thomas time to do this. What else do I do? Sticking to agendas and taking action. Well, we're similar on that, which is great. Being systematic and well-planned in dealings with them. Great. So as you can see, just reading through this information, you get some really tangible tips. Obviously, you might start with 1. If that works, keep practicing. If it doesn't, try another point. And on the other side, you can see potential areas for conflict. How valuable is that? Avoid attacking any strong beliefs they may hold. Excellent. Resolve problems through face-to-face interaction rather than by emails. That's always a really useful point to know. So as I said, this is a nice starting point for how you can improve communication. And that's just one of our 19 applications. Another really great one is My Team, very popular. This is for when teams are using the profile and they've learned information about themselves, but they want to think about how their team is performing overall. So let's say team sales, our project. Let's just have a look at the financial year. And then each individual in their own personal hub, they go through and they click these items. You can have a little read on screen as I'm doing some sample data for you to have a look at how easy this is. So if you're part of a team or if you're a team leader, you could get everyone to complete this survey. You could even do it live during a meeting if everyone's logged into their hub. Once they've completed the 28 items, click next, and instantly, it's that easy, you get your report. So if we click on the different sections, and you can actually download the full report, it gives you breakdown of the percentages of satisfaction for each of the different types of work. So what you can do is when you save it, that report will save next to your profile. So for example, I have a look here and I just did some sample data, so it's all quite good, isn't it? Innovating 92%. If I click on that green bar of innovating, it gives me some ideas and tips and explains my score in more detail. If I click on one of the lower scoring options, say maintaining or inspecting, it talks about, first of all, what inspecting is. And then it has a look at maybe some of the things you could do to improve your inspecting score. So now imagine if your whole team was doing this together and comparing results or aggregating those percentages to see what the averages are. And then you can identify what are our strongest areas, well done, pat on the back for that, but also what are some areas we could improve on. So easy, quick, and very work-focused. When you scroll down these 19 applications in the Online Activity Centre, you can actually break them down into 4 categories. So you've got your ebooks, you've got your quizzes, anything with a question mark, videos, and interactive exercises like the pacing and My Team I showed you. If you like the My Team, you should have a look at the team signals. Similar process that you do a survey and get a personalised report, but instead of focusing on work operations and the types of work, you're looking at strategic priorities. So great for team planning days. Now, once you get accredited, as I said, we show you how to use all these different apps and also build your own bundle. But the other thing to remember is once you're accredited, you have control over what your learners see in that area. Not only can you customize that, you can customize your facilitator section to add information about your program or your organization. You can add links to videos and email addresses and so on. You can also look at settings, reset your security key or update your name and email address. If you move organizations, it's as easy as just changing it here so you can still access it. And also sharing feedback with others. So here are the team members have shared their profile with this person's hub. You can click on their name, download the full profile, but also Rebecca Johnson has shared her pacing app. So she might have done the pacing application on how to best communicate with me, and she's sharing it. So we can both learn from it. So that is a quick tour of the hub. Now, if you do have other questions on how to use the hub on any of the different applications, always feel free to call us. That's what we're here for. I'm part of the learning and development team. We also have our account managers and network services team who are always happy to talk through different facets of how to use the team management profile. So coming back to the slideshow now, you've had a quick tour of the hub so you can not only understand what the profile looks like, but all the different sections in the system that's built around the profile. I suppose a really big question here though is what is it that the TMP Hub does that others don't? Because that's generally what people are thinking in their mind. What's a key difference here? And it really comes down to, for us, the long-term learning. Because when you're choosing a psychometric profile, you want to choose something, not just one that helps you have a one-off event or run a workshop or do a debrief. It's one that supports your employees' learning and development now, but also into the future. Back in the day, it was easier because when you were using profiles, you might send out some pre-communications via email or have a meeting. You'd run a session, do a debrief, everyone would learn about each other and themselves, and then have some post-email communications, looking at what actions we decided on, but also just check in to see how everyone went. Now it's a little bit tricky because nowadays you don't have as much time to do those face-to-face activities and facilitation. But the beauty of the TMP Hub is that we enable you to have those discussions you might have had during a session before and after that session. So because people get access to their hub instantly after they do the questionnaire, they can read their profile straight away. They can do some pre-work. You could ask them to watch a video in the Online Activity Center about the theory. This would then prime and prep them for that during session. So you can fast track through some of the theory, but also for people maybe who have a preference for introversion, they've already had time to reflect and digest the information, so they won't feel like you're putting them on the spot when it comes to sharing information about themselves. So you can do these pre-work activities, but also the post-work activities too. So the discussions don't just stop after the debrief. The discussions keep going. You can, as I said earlier, empower leaders to keep these discussions going. Through those simple applications, you can get leaders to ask their team to think about the strategic priorities, and not just whiteboarded or flip charted. You can get everyone to complete that My Team survey. Ask them to bring along their reports so you have a starting point for some action-focused discussions. So this is another key differentiator, is that we have sustained learning and development. We make it really easy for you to do that. So that's the end of this webinar. I gather you have enjoyed learning about the team management profile, the hub, in 3 ways: the why choose us, the how is it used, but also the what is it. So I'm going to let you take that information away, let it infuse, and when you're ready, come back to us. Give us a call, send us an email, and we can help out with all of your questions. I might even see you at our next accreditation. So when you're ready to learn a little bit more, just hop onto our website, tmsoz.com. We have some other road trips coming up, some live ones, where you can learn about our different profiles. So I hope to speak with you soon. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.